Hello and welcome to part 2 of our competition series. So originally I had planned to do a video on just different types of competitions and formats, but the video ended up being like far too long, so I'm going to break it up into different templates and examples, and hopefully that'll be easier for teachers who have specific goals in mind that they really want to do thing, and they can just watch that video that's pertinent to them. So this one's going to be on the first on this list, which is off-timetable days. So taking an entire year or half a year or several years maybe, although I've never actually done it with more than 1 year, off timetable and running some sort of big oracy event. I'm going to give the example of running a full day debating competition off timetable, because I think that's probably the thing I can speak with most assurity on. But reasonably, most of what I say here could be extrapolated to any other format. So, with an off timetable day, you're taking a full year, perhaps. I'm just going to pretend we're taking a full year off timetable for a full day, and we have the same number of teachers that would be teaching those kids helping us out. Obviously, this doesn't work out perfectly, so I don't know exactly how this works in your school, but either you get the teachers for the classes you'll be doing, or there's some swapsies, and you end up with the same teachers all day. It's obviously easier if it's the second scenario, but it might be the first. One of the biggest problems when you're doing this sort of format is that typically, if you have an average class size of 24, that means that you've got 24 kids in a room for a block or for a period or whatever else. But of course, your average debate only has 6 to 8 kids in it. You don't want kids to spend too much time sitting around. That doesn't really help anyone. There are a few ways you can manage this. One is, if you have someone that you can either hire for a day or you can do it yourself to deliver a sort of lecture type style workshop where it's maybe an hour or hour 15 minutes talk, and they can do that in like a big room, like an assembly hall or something, then if say you had 3 blocks of time or 4 blocks of time, you could potentially have a third of the year getting the lecture while 2/3 are debating, and then rotate that. That way everyone gets 2 debates, but on the third block of time when they're not debating, they get a little bit of instruction or coaching. And that way you have more classrooms, more teachers for fewer pupils, because you've lumped a third of the year together. That's one potential solution. You could also stagger the debates, so that some kids are debating in the first half of a block and some kids are debating in the second half of a block, though you'd have to have something for them to do when they're not. You can find other roles for kids a lot when they're not debating. So for example, they could be judges, they could chair, they could ask audience questions. You want to make sure you don't overcomplicate this, because of course when you release like the draw, and the kids all have to go from some centralized location like an assembly hall to the appropriate classrooms to have their debates, you want to make sure that you're not assigning 17 different roles amongst 150 kids, all of whom are brand new to debating, because that is going to be chaos. It's going to have to be very, very simple, and that's why in an off-timetable day debating competition, I would stick to a very simple format, like just one team for the motion, one team against, rather than something like BP, which is just so much more complex. And you can also do something like having teams of 5, and if you're having 3 or 4 blocks or 3 or 4 debates, you could have it where in any given debate only 3 people speak, so you get 3 speeches, and you just have a rule that everyone has to speak twice, or everyone has to speak 3 times over the 4 debates, or over the 5, or however many debates it is. This is what happens at the World Championships. The teams are 5 members. All 5 members help with preparation, but only 3 of them speak in any given debate. So there are ways of doing that, but it's a really important consideration, however you're going to solve that problem, that you don't just have a lot of kids sitting around, that they're doing something, even if it's just judging or scoring or whatever, another debate, just so that they're not bored. This is particularly the case the younger the kids are. The second problem is going to be your colleagues. I've written obviously no offence here. A bunch of teachers who haven't done much or perhaps any debating, or if it's public speaking, or if it's uh, like mooting or mock courts or something, aren't going to be too sure what's going on. You're going to have to make sure that you know what they are willing to do. Like, if they think they're just sitting at the back of the classroom catching up on marking, and you think they're chairing and judging a debate, that's a problem. So if you if they're meant to be helping you out, you're going to need to give them some very clear, as simple as possible information as far in advance as possible, with regular reminders, so that they feel that what they need to do is easy, is straightforward, is simple, and isn't a burden. Because you as a teacher will know that you are always busy, and it's very hard to help people out with their projects because you barely have enough time to do your own. So try to make things as easy as you can for your teachers. Give them as simple a role as you possibly can, and give them as least work as you possibly can. And yes, you have to use them to some extent, but try not to tax them. This is where having senior debaters that can help you out is really, really helpful. So last year we ran a year 7 day. So we had five. Let's see if I've got this right. We had 6 blocks of time throughout the full day. 3 of the blocks, every kid did 3 debates. Every kid had 2 workshops, and then everyone either watched or took part in a final. And it was a good day. There were some things that went wrong. I was trying to tab it while convening it, and I totally messed up the tabbing. It was my fault, which was really unfortunate, and caused some problems at the end. There was a bit of chaos as well, but some things went really well. One of the things that worked out really well was we had a few of our alumni, as well as a few of our 6th form and year 11 debaters who were really experienced, deliver workshops in twos for the kids. And I got to sit in on some of the workshops, and they were really good. I was really, really proud of my students, and really useful. And we even did a thing, again, this was me being a bit too ambitious, but this part worked out. It was the tabbing that got me. Was I got all the kids to select from a list of modules. So the students that were delivering the workshops, I asked them what they would feel most comfortable doing a workshop on. They all gave me them, and then I allowed the students in advance to pick 2 of the 5 module options, and then they mostly got to do their choices. So that was cool as well. And that way I was able to cater it to, there was one workshop on nerves, which some kids who don't do debating were really keen to do. And there was some workshops on sort of more advanced debating for the kids who were already in the club, stuff like that. So that you can intersperse debates with workshops or public speeches with public speaking analysis of famous speeches, whatever. Having experienced debaters who can chair debates for you, judge debates for you, and aren't paid staff members, but are just like really experienced, really enthusiastic debate kids, is a great way to run these things. I recognise not everyone's got the enormous privilege of having the sorts of students who are capable, competent, and willing to do that, but if you do, they're awesome. The last thing I'll say is, on off-timetable days, I do think it is worthwhile making it a competition and having a final, because kids do like competitions, even if you're not going to have a final, which is a fair enough thing to cut, because again, for the final, the kids aren't debating, most of them aren't debating, obviously, so cutting a final is fine, but still have a competition, have a top team or top 5 teams or whatever, because it will incentivize kids to try a bit harder. Have some silly prizes if you want, like give out an Easter egg or something. So yeah, off-timetable days, great use of a day, I think, to just give kids an experience of what a debating competition feels like, to give kids a bunch, like 3 debates in a day and a couple workshops is a lot of practice for someone who's never done debating. And if a kid only experiences that twice in their school life, like in their 1st and 3rd year of high school, for example, or their last year of primary school and their 2nd year of high school, that's still a lot more public speaking than some kids get, and it is enormously beneficial. So would highly recommend. And yeah, if you have any questions on off timetable days, please do get in touch, because that's why we're here. All right, thanks. The next video is going to be on running a public speaking as opposed to debating competition. Bye.